Hello guys and welcome to another video. Today we're gonna talk about the Midnight Alpha test development notes because Blizzard just said they're gonna rework like 40 classes. So a lot of changes, like really a lot. So today, as always, we're gonna focus only on the Death Knight and see what's new. Many changes for now, and there will be many more for sure because there will be a lot of OP stuff probably, and they will have to adjust some stuff. So let's see what we have for Death Knights. So basically for Death Knights, Death Strike in all 3 specs will now heal for 20% of all damage taken in the last 5 seconds. It was 25% before. Death and Decay damage is buffed by 130%. Honestly, I don't think that's gonna be really felt, but okay. It's gonna deal more than double its damage. Unholy Endurance now reduces the cooldown of Lichborn by 30 seconds with reduced damage taken. Okay. So Unholy Endurance, which you know the talent on the left side was giving you the damage reduction, now it's actually reducing the cooldown of Lichborn. Sacrificial Pact has been removed, so no more pet sacrifice. This is all relevant for all 3 specs. Now let's have a look at the hero talents for Deathbringer. Here we have a new talent, Frigate Hunger. Upon exploding, Reaper's Mark increases your critical strike chance by 10% for 8 seconds. Now I think this was kinda taken from the tier set which we have right now. New talent, Deadly Blows. So for Frost strike damage increased by 5% and Glacial Advance as well. For Blood, their strike damage increased by 5%. New talent, Echoing Fury. Frost, Reaper's Mark deals 5% increased damage. Same for Frost and for Blood. Now for Frost, after you cast Frostworm, you gain 2 stacks of Exterminate. So first sight and second sight hitting for 100% damage. And for Blood, casting Dancing Rune Weapon grants 1 stack of Exterminate with 75% first sight and 75% second sight effectiveness. Now assume this is separately from the Reaper's Mark effect, which gives you as well the Exterminates, because it says new talent and nowhere is mentioned that it's Reaper's Mark rework, but just that it gets buffed. So actually not bad. This was kind of moved from the tier set as well, because right now from the tier set you get these Exterminates. Now Rider of the Apocalypse, new talent, Ride or Die. For Unholy, Dark Transformation summons Fort Whitemane for 6 seconds. For Frost, Pillar of Frost summons Fort Trollbane for 6 seconds. This was taken as well from the tier set, which Frost DKs have. New talent, Let Terror Reign. Unholy, casting Death Coil or Epidemic orders Whitemane to cast her Death Coil or Epidemic alongside you at 125% effectiveness. For Frost, casting Obliterate or Frostside orders Trollbane to cast his Obliterate or Frostside alongside you at 100% effectiveness. So this has been moved as well from the 40th set which we have right now. New talent, Unholy Armaments. The abilities that Horsemen cast deal 5% increased damage. Okay. Now specifically for Sand Lane we have a new talent, Thrill of Blood. Sense of the Blood Queen additionally increases your mastery by 0.2% per stack. Yeah, this has been taken from the tier set as well. New talent, Unending Misery. Infliction of Sorrow extends the duration of your disease by an additional 3 seconds for Unholy, 4 seconds on your main target for Blood. I think this is as well from the tier set. New talent, Transfusion. Vampiric Strike increases the damage of your permanent gold dancing rune weapons by 10% for 8 seconds. Multiple applications may overlap. This has been taken as well from the tier set. Infliction of Sorrow now consumes 50% of the plagues to deal 100% of that amount of damage. Okay, so basically from the dots it consumes 50% and it deals 100% of that amount of damage. So for Blood, bro, there's so much to read. I'm not gonna read it. If you wish, go ahead. So Apex Talents, Dance of Midnight. While Dancing Rune Weapon is active, when you parry you have a chance to make your next hard strike free and deal 150% increased damage. This is actually pretty nice. For each Dancing Rune Weapon active, your damage is increased by 4 to 8% and your damage taken is reduced by 4%. This is actually additionally nice for Blood. When you consume a rune, you have a chance to call a Dancing Rune Weapon to your aid for 6 seconds. Now, This is one of the best things, I think, for Blood. This will boost our damage, both in PvP and in PvE. And if you look at this, new talent, Deadly Reach. Dead Strike hits an additional 2 enemies. Here we are getting cleave damage. New talent, Lifeblood. Dead Strike heals for an additional 20% of its healing over 5 seconds. Look at that, we are getting a healing over time on ourselves. Oh my god. Okay. New talent, Blood Mist. When you cast Dancing Rune Weapon, you become enveloped in a blood mist that surrounds you for 8 seconds, increasing your parry by 5%. Deals shadow damage every 1 second to enemies within 10 yards. Every time it deals damage, you gain 2 runic power up to a maximum of 10 runic power. Deals reduced damage beyond 8 targets. Now this sounds exactly like Bone Storm. Now just called Blood Mist. New talent, Boiling Point. Hard Strike has a chance to make your next blood boil. Empowered, dealing 50% increased damage and echoing after 3 seconds. So once you cast Blood Boil, he's gonna automatically cast after 3 seconds again, which is honestly nice. Passive AoE damage. New talent, Plague Infusion. Your Blood Plague critical hits have a chance to reduce the cooldown of your Blood Boil by 0.25 seconds. Okay. Honestly, Blood Boil is not the main damage dealer, but fine. That's good to keep the dots. Have AoE damage. New talent, Sanguinary Burst. When Blood Mist ends, it deals shadow damage to 8 nearby enemies, healing you for 15% of the damage dealt. The damage is increased by 2% for every 1 runic power spent while Blood Mist was active. Okay, so again, kinda explosion bomb damage stuff. So not bad. We have to spam the runic power to increase its damage. I like it. Consumption has been redesigned and is now an Empower ability. Empower the runes in your weapon, reducing the damage you take over the duration and unleashing a devastating attack that deals shadow damage and consumes up to 75% of your blood plague instantly from enemies in front of you. This is actually pretty nice. I mean, consuming the dots, you know, you can stack it up with the vampiric strikes, and additionally consumption, you can instantly deal 75% of its blood plague. Insatiable Blade has been updated. Dancing Rune Weapon's cooldown is reduced by 30 seconds and now generates 5 Bone Shield charges. I think it already did give 5 Bone Shield charges, so they just probably moved it to the talent. Heartbreaker no longer grants extra runic power from Dancing Rune Weapons. I didn't really pay attention to this, that's actually a thing, that they give additional runic power. Abomination Limb is now available as a choice node with Gorfin's Grasp, no longer deals damage. What? Why the hell would you give Abomination Limb back, but it does no damage? This is a kind of waste of talent. Gorfin's Grasp cooldown reduced by 30 seconds and it now silences enemies for 3 seconds. Okay, we already had this. Everlasting Bond duration reduced to 4 seconds was 6 seconds. Voracious now increases death strike healing by 5% was 15%. Oh, that's a huge self-heal nerf. Bone Shield armor increased by 25%. Improved Bone Shield now also increases the maximum stacks of Bone Shield by 2. Blood Fortification now also increases your base armor by 35%. Okay, so we will baseline have more armor again. Carnage no longer affects Blood Drinker. The following talents have been removed. What? Carnage no longer affects Blood Drinker, but they freaking removed Blood Drinker, so what the hell? Okay, Blood Drinker removed, Blood Tap, Bone Storm, Heart Rend, Mark of Blood, Ossified Vitriol, Reinforced Bones, Rune Tap, Shattering Bone, Tightening Grasp, Tombstone. Damn. Removing Tombstone, removing Bone Storm, Rune Tap to take reduced damage, Mark of Blood. Damn. Blood is really kinda reworked. This is gonna be feeling much differently. For Frost, Epic Talents, Chosen of Frostbrood. Frostburns Fury deals 100% increased damage to the first enemy it hits and grants you 15% haste for 12 seconds. That's nice. This, I don't think they will keep this. 15%. It's like they removed it from Empower Rune Weapon and now they are giving it to Frostburns Fury. Here, Death Knights, we give you the haste back. You have again 15%, which was before nerfed to 5% only in PvP. Casting Frostburns Fury Forward grants 25 or 50 runic power. Recalling it grants 1 or 2 killing machine stacks. It's probably a 2 rank talent. Frostworm's Fury deals 100% increased damage. After the Frostworm flies away, you may cast Frostworm's Fury again to recall it at 50% effectiveness. Really? So you send out the Frostworm, you call it back. That's funny. Okay. Obliterate has been updated. So two-handed dual wielding, so basically they deal physical and frost damage now. Shattering Blade now has an additional effect. When Frostbane consumes the Razor Ice stacks on your main target, it deals an additional 250% damage instead. Empowering Weapon effect is now instant and no longer has a projectile. So basically, you don't see this flying missile, which needs to hit the target so that you get the effect. Now you probably get it instantly. So the second you press it, you have a killing machine. Now for Unholy, I'm not gonna read all this. If you wish, here you go. I'm gonna stop for a second. So, Apex Talents, Forbidden Knowledge. Army of the Dead siphons the power of the fallen, transforming Dead Coil and Epidemic into Necrotic Coil and Graveyard for 15 seconds. Necrotic Coil unleashes a vortex of necrotic energy and bone, dealing physical damage up to 3 foes and shadow damage to all pierced enemies. 20 runic power and uses half global cooldown. Okay. Graveyard. The dead erupt beneath all foes within Virulent Plague, dealing shadow damage and shadow damage to enemies nearby. 20 runic power and uses half global cooldown. Okay, these are actually cool. I mean, they are using half the global cooldown. This is more like for cleaving. Army of the Dead grants 20-40 runic power and causes your next 1-2 Scourge Strike to summon a lesser goal. I like this. Summoning goals from casting Scourge Strike. Love it. When you petrify a lesser goal or summon one with Scourge Strike, the duration of Forbidden Knowledge is increased by 1 second. New talent, Petrify. Decay your oldest lesser goal under your command over 2 seconds to have them explode for shadow damage to nearby enemies. Lesser goals do not expire while decaying. Max 2 charges, 15 seconds recharge, 1 rune cost. This is like the PvP talent to explode your pet kinda, just no stun. Okay. New talent, Ancient Runes. Each rune consumed increases strength by 2% for 20 seconds. This is not new at all, we already had this effect. Festering Strike has been redesigned. Slash the enemy for physical damage and corrupt your weapon with Blight, causing your next 3-4 Scourge Strikes to summon a lesser goal. I love it. I actually love it. Oh, do they actually remove fully Festering? So no more Festering wounds, but we are actually summoning goals. Damn, this is actually going in the direction like to be again a freaking pet master. I already see millions of goals swarming the freaking place. Scourge Strike has been redesigned, an unholy strike that deals shadow damage and erupts your plagues on the target, dealing their damage and additional time at 35% effectiveness, spreads Virulent Plague on the target to a nearby enemy, 30-yard range. Outbreak has been updated. Inflicts the target with Red Plague and Virulent Plague. The Red Plague, a malicious plague that seeps into the soul of its host, dealing shadow damage over 15 seconds, can only be applied to one host at a time. Virulent Plague, an infectious plague that spreads to all nearby enemies, dealing shadow damage over 15 seconds. Okay, so basically this will be applied only to the main target. This is spreading. Okay. New talent, Outnumber. Lesser goals serve you 4 seconds longer. New talent, March of Darkness. Your lesser goals deal 30% increased damage. New talent, Reanimation. Capstone. When you petrify a lesser goal, it has 100% chance to reanimate as Magus of the Dead who hurls frost bolts and shadow bolts at your foes for 15 seconds. Additionally, Magus of the Dead spells deal 25% increased damage. Okay, new talent, Unholy Devotion. Putrefy now decays the lesser goal over 4 seconds and causes it to go on an unholy frenzy, increasing their attack speed and damage by 150% until they explode. So it's like here, take this drug, do as much damage as possible and die. That's kinda the type of suicidal goal. He goes all out and he dies then. New talent, Blighted. Scourge Strike, critical strikes cause your Dread and Virulent Plague to inflict their damage at 50% effectiveness instead. New talent, Rapid Variant. When an enemy afflicted by your Dread Plague dies, it erupts, dealing shadow damage to nearby enemies and infects the enemy with the lowest health remaining. With your plagues, deals reduced damage beyond 5 targets. Oh, that's actually freaking great for PvE. Your target dies and he infects the enemy with the lowest health. With our plagues, that's pretty nice, really. I like that talent. New talent, Festering Corruption. Runic Corruption increases your rune regeneration rate by 125%. Okay, we already had the talent kinda, but not many used it. New talent, Scourging. Scourging or Scourging? Scourging. Scourge Strike now instead causes your Dread and Virulent Plague to erupt for the damage they would inflict over 5 seconds at 35% effectiveness. Basically, anytime you Scourge Strike, does this mean that anytime you Scourge Strike, basically the amount of the dot duration that they have, like 3 or 5 seconds, the damage they would deal, 35% will be immediately applied to the enemy? That's how I understand it. Apparently it doesn't consume the dot or anything, so this is actually damage boosting. New talent, Blightfall. All diseases deal 20% increased damage. New talent, Putrid Echoes. Replaces improved death coil. Putrefied damage is increased by 50%, and it now deals damage split between enemies it hits. Each additional enemy struck increases damage of Putrefy by 50%. New talent, Reanimation. Replaces Forbidden Knowledge. When you putrefy a lesser goal, it has a 100% chance to reanimate the Monks of the Dead, who whirls Frostbolt, Shadow Bolts, it falls for 15 seconds, and additional Match of the Dead spells deal 25% increased damage. I think we did read this already somewhere up here. There we have Reanimation Capstone. This is pretty much the same. Okay, new talent, Blight Burst. The explosion effect of Putrefy consumes 6 seconds from your plagues on all enemies hit, dealing 100% of the damage they would deal over that time instantly. Yep, not bad. Here comes the gold that explodes like a bomb, dealing damage to you. Glowing Shadows has been redesigned. No! Now a passive effect. Shadows guide your strikes, increasing the damage of your Scourge Strike by 25% and causing it to grant you Clawing Shadows up to 4 times. For each stack of Clawing Shadows your Scourge Strike chains to an additional enemy, each subsequent chain deals 25% reduced damage. Oh man, I mean it sounds good, but I don't really like this. Cleaving Strikes has been redesigned. Scourge Strike and Festering Strike deal 10% increased damage, so no cleaving. Another dislike, man. They're totally switching the gameplay out again. Just as they did for Frost, they removed the Obliterate cleaving, now they're removing for Unholy as well. Sudden Doom has been redesigned. Dread Plague has a 35% chance to accelerate. Make your next Death Coil or Epidemic cost no runic power and deal 35% increased damage. Okay, so Sudden Doom again, not consuming any runic power. Doomed Bidding has been updated. Consuming Sudden Doom summons for a lesser goal to assist you for 8 seconds. Move to the first gate in the talent tree. Harbinger of Doom has been updated. Sudden Doom triggers 30% more often and can accumulate up to 2 charges. Okay, we already had this. Now Super Strain has been updated. Dread Plague has a chance to grant 4 runic power, no longer a capstone talent. Unholy Aura has been updated. Each lesser goal you have under your command grants 0.5 or 1% mastery. Whenever you putrefy a lesser goal, you gain 3 or 5% haste for 15 seconds. This is nice, honestly. I have nothing against this. It's nice to have these kind of buffs. Haste, mastery buffs are always nice to have. Reaping has been updated. Scourge Strike, Festering Strike, Death Coil deal 30% more damage to enemies below 35% health. I think this is pretty much what we already have. When the enemy is low, you deal more damage to them. Infected Claws has been updated. Goals have a chance to sicken foes, dealing shadow damage over 12 seconds. If this effect is reapplied, any remaining damage is added to the new effect. Oh damn, so this can stack. Dark Transformation has been updated. Cause an unholy blast around your permanent goal, dealing shadow damage to nearby enemies and evolving it into a monstrosity, greatly empowering its abilities. That Coil and Epidemic extends the duration of this effect by 1 second. And here we have our main pet again. We transform it. He goes raw and dealing AoE damage. Summon Gargoyle has been redesigned. Army of the Dead summons a Gargoyle into the battlefield to bombard your enemies for 25 seconds and grants you 50 runic power. The Gargoyle gains 1% increased damage for every 1 runic power you spend. Choice node with Raise Abomination. Yeah, of course we would take this. Army of the Dead, summoning Gargoyle. Better than have Abomination, I think. Raise Abomination has been redesigned. Okay, let's see what this does. Army of the Dead now only summons 4 lesser goals, but additionally raises an Abomination that attacks enemies while emitting a disease cloud that deals plague damage over 30 seconds. Enemies within the disease cloud take 20% increased damage from your minions. Choice node with summon Gargoyle. I think still Gargoyle might be better. Yeah, I mean summoning abominations are always so freaking slow, so in PvP I think they are just useless, only if you would literally have the enemy sit next to it so that they can hit the enemy. And here we have Army of the Dead now has a 1.5 minute cooldown, was 3 minutes, and it summons 8 lesser goals. So with Raise Abomination you get 4, but with this Gargoyle you get 8 goals and the Gargoyle, so I would definitely go for that. Festering Sight is now Capstone talent and has been updated. Festering Strike now follows up with Festering Sight. Oh, so basically Festering Strike now follows up with Festering Sight. Festering Sight slashes through all enemies within 14 yards in front of you, dealing shadow damage and hastening all of your plagues on targets hit to deal damage 35% faster for 20 seconds. I actually like this. It's true that it's a bit tricky to hit the enemies, but it's a nice cleave. Raise Dead and Festering Strike are now learned automatically when specialized as Unholy. Outbreak is no longer learned automatically and is now the initial node on the talent tree. Ebon Fever now causes disease to deal 15% more damage over time in 75% of the duration, was 12% more damage over time in half the duration. So basically it's not 50 what they want to say, 50% of the duration, but 75, so the dot's gonna deal slower damage than with this one. Dead Coil and Epidemic now extend plague duration by 3 seconds. Coil of Devastation now additionally increases Dead Coil damage by 10%. Infliction of Sorrow now functions with Dread Plague. Morbidity is now a second gate talent. And the following talents have been removed. Apocalypse, Bursting Source, Death Rot, Decomposition, Defile, Desecrate, Eternal Agony, Festermight. Wait a second, Festermight, we didn't lose, it's just renamed. It has the same effect, giving us strength. Improved Festering Strike, Legion of Souls. Damn, they even removed Legion of Souls. Pestilence, Plaguebringer, Rotten Touch, Soul Reaper, Unholy Blight. Damn, they removed so much stuff. What the hell? We're gonna have much less buttons to press this way. Are they preparing to play a freaking League of Legends or what? Anyway, that's it for this side, but let's not forget the PvP changes. We have some for Death Knight. So first of all, for the elite rank, they're changing it to be 2.3k. No more 2.4k. Doesn't bother me at all because I always reach 2.4k easily, but yeah. So good news for those who were struggling to get this rating. So for Battleground Blitz, I have the Storm. You know right now you can cap only 2 bases. If you cap a flag, you have to run to the other 2 bases to cap it. Now basically all 4 bases will be active all the time, so they can all be capped at the same time, and they are adjusting some mount movement speed in these battlegrounds. Now let's have a look at the Death Knight for PvP. So for Unholy, Doom Burst has been updated. Sudden Doom also causes your next Dead Coil to deal damage of your plagues on additional time at 25% effectiveness and reduce the target's movement speed by 45% for 3 seconds. So since we are no more bursting Festering Wounds, this is what we get. We get some damage from the dot. Life and Death has been updated. When the target afflicted with your Dread Plague is healed, you are also healed for 10% of the amount. Additionally, Dread Plague deals 200% of its remaining damage to the target when dispelled. So they moved it from Virulent Plague to Dread Plague, this effect. Necromancer's Bargain has been updated. Festering Strike no longer causes Scourge Strike to summon a lesser gold, but instead causes it to deal shadow damage and heal you for 100% of that amount. So, since we no more have Apocalypse, this is what we get. You can make your Festering Strike no longer summon ghouls, but instead that it deals shadow damage and heals us for 100% of that amount. Necrotic Wounds has been updated. Putrefy has one additional charge and applies a necrotic wound to the enemy when it deals damage, absorbing 8% of all healing received for 15 seconds. Max 3 stacks, adding a stack does not refresh the duration. So 24% healing reduction, but basically, yeah, 3 stacks, so we have to cast it to actually get the healing reduction on them. Reanimation renamed to Zombify. And what does this Zombify do? They didn't say anything more. Anyway, guys, that's it for now. All the news regarding Death Knight changes in the alpha. Thank you so much for watching, and tell me what you think about these changes. Do you like them or do you hate it? Did you like how the class was before, or you might like this, what's coming? We will definitely check everything out. There will be still many updates for sure, so this is just the start of it. Class rework is apparently just beginning, so we will definitely see much more to come, and see you guys in the next one.
Beneath the ice and snow, a legend awakens. I am Arthas, the Lich King ruler of the damned master of Frostmourne.